Hi, everyone. This is Ken from Vintage Card Voyage, and my partner Mark
Mark.
is here. And we have a special guest today. This is Mike Levine. And the reason I know Mike is that I've been buying cards from him for, I would say, maybe the last 5 years. And we have never met each other. So I thought this would be a great way for us to meet each other and get to know each other better. And we get to ask a lot of questions of Mike.
That's great. Thank you.
And Mike, I know I'm a member of one of your Facebook groups. Maybe you can start there and tell us which group that is.
Sure. I think you're in two, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. But yeah, so for years, I was a power seller on eBay, and I still buy from eBay all the time. But I had my issues here and there as the seller. So I kind of got into the Facebook selling and was in the vintage football group, a very large group years ago. And they asked me, and someone has said, how about starting basketball group? And I thought that was a really good idea. So I started a vintage basketball group. It's all 1989 on back cards. It has to there are a couple of exceptions, like an auto of a Hall of Fame player that was a rookie from 89 back. So, for example, Michael Jordan, yes, an auto of his, but not Shaq because he's 92, right? So, but my business is really called Lot of Cards. So I've always had a Lot of Cards group. Well, always, the last 6 years or so. And since 2018. And about a year ago, I kind of shut it down from other sellers because it is my group in my page. So I basically conduct auctions there and pretty much throughout the day at various points, because it's just a part-time side gig for me. But I have family members who also post as me too, helping out, or it's under my account. And I do auctions, and those auctions are really, I think, really fair, because whether it's a Tom Brady rookie or it's a vintage card, they always start at $10. I don't have any sort of reserve. I think what really works well for me is I let people be part of like a hold plan. And what works nice with the hold plan is they if they accumulate wins of the auctions up to $100, I ship to them for free. And the shipping is very costly, as you know, with cards, because if you buy one, let's say you buy a $10 card, you don't really want to pay $5 to $8 or something like that to ship it. So that's what people like. And I have the name Lot of Cards because literally I probably have millions of cards. It's crazy. So I think my buyers also like that if you ordered just one card from me or you won just one card, you're going to always get extras in every single shipment that I do. So they get extras. You probably got extras, Ken, and you're like, what the heck is this? You mail me the wrong things? And that's a fun experience for me because I get to know my buyers really well, and I know their favorite teams or their favorite sport, and I try my best to give them free stuff that I find sitting around my basement. Yeah.
I mean, I as a member of your group, I can tell you that you're super fair. Usually people get a deal. They're getting a deal on whatever they would buy on eBay. And then because you'll ship in bulk, they save on shipping. And I just find it like a much better way to join an auction than on eBay, where there's it could be thousands of people bidding.
Another thing that I forgot to mention is you cannot snipe like you can on eBay in my auctions, and I think that's huge because I'm all about the buyer is always correct, all that type of stuff, whatever that slogan is, so the seller is going to get, take the sword if there's a problem. But what's most fair to the buyers is the fact that they can win, bid, and then that bid is good for 24 hours unless someone beats them. If someone else beats them, it resets the clock another 24 hours. And then that way it's the most fair for all buyers to get their chance to get a bid. And most of the auctions end, 4 to 5 days. I've had a couple that have come past the typical eBay 7 days, but that's because it gets to be sort of a a fight of two buyers trying to win a card. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah. The basketball group, I run it. There's 7,000 members or something, but I haven't posted there probably almost in the last year because most of my vintage basketball probably went to Ken and others years ago. And I've got mostly vintage baseball, football, hockey, that type of stuff. And non-sports does really well for me. So that's the vintage that I tend to post mostly in my group. And occasionally I'll post a basketball group because I just try to stay a basketball card because I just try to be focused. And I do so much effort with a lot of cards group that I only do that. But I administratively run the basketball group.
Mike, are you selling on eBay anymore, or are you just now just Facebook?
No. I buy from there.
Yeah.
I buy from there,
Yeah.
and then people buy from me on Facebook. But it's like I just can't seem to do it. It's not so much even the fees. It's just I think what I like the most about the Facebook selling is like you and I are a perfect example. We've never met, but I feel like I know you. And I feel like if I was walking by you on the street, we maybe would see each other and know each other because we've been buying from each other and you see the Facebook and you create bonds and you create rapport. If you try to do that, I don't want to say anything negative about eBay, but whatever. If you try to do it on eBay, you could get cut off as either a buyer or a seller because it's about the transaction.
You can't even do that.
I'm about the relationship. I'm not. My best customer. A couple of my best customers, I haven't got the chance to meet, and they live in various places. One that comes to mind in California that I have, not yourself, but another, is someone that I've literally been to his office. I've been to his house. I live 3,000 miles away, but now I feel like I have hopefully a lifelong friend from the card business.
That's great. That's great. And Mike, can you share with us where you're located?
I'm in Nashua, New Hampshire. Yeah, right on the border of Mass and New Hampshire, basically. I also
is it the 3 highway?
Yes, exactly. Route 3. Yeah. Coming up from Massachusetts.
Just a little tidbit. I don't know if I shared this with you, but I lived in Lowell.
Yes.
I lived in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Yep.
And I used to cross the border to buy things with no sales tax.
Yes.
For my business, and then I brought it back down.
If I literally lived maybe 2 miles from my house, maybe even less, probably 1 mile, I'd be in Massachusetts, and I'd have a sales tax on everything that I. But I just have a high property tax, but I don't have a sales tax. So the other thing, just to mention, as you made me think of the highway, is what also feeds to my auctions is that I run card shows, like everybody else has card shows, but I do one on Thursday nights, which is really interesting because it allows people to have a different atmosphere for the card show than the typical Saturday and Sunday morning type things. So we do once a month in Nashua, New Hampshire, and it's a lot of fun. It's from 5 to 9 o'clock at night or something on a Thursday. And that feeds me with local people that actually I don't have to ship to, but they still can contribute to my auctions and buy from me.
Where do you host it at?
Well, I host it. This whole year has been at the Sheraton in Nashua, New Hampshire, but I'm moving it to called the Event Center, also in Nashua, because we're expanding and going to 75 tables or something from 50. So yeah.
That's great.
It's free.
I own a little. Yeah, I own a little office here, and I want to do the same thing because I do go to card shows on the weekends, but I think weekday nights it can be more intimate, smaller. I think it'll be better at building relationships.
It's a different atmosphere. You just families have so much to do on the weekend.
Right. Thursday
night, kids have school and all that type of stuff, but Friday is a little bit lighter day maybe and stuff. So they come out on Thursday nights, and this last one we did, we actually had a Santa, which was actually one. Well, it was a real Santa, but he was connected with one of my vendors.
That's great.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to ask a question?
Yeah. Let's see. So when did you start collecting? And when you did, who and what did you collect?
I started in 1975 as a 10-year-old kid. I tell the story that, and it's very true, but like it's just like about me and it's personal. Um, my mother, my single mom, kind of, we didn't have any money, but we would move from place to place to sort of avoid the bill collectors.
Hmm.
A couple times in my life, I came out and we were evicted, and all my stuff's out on the lawn. And the cards were always the first thing I had to get. I had to make sure I had the cards with me that which was the 1975 tops and that type of stuff. And I remember, specifically over the years, that became almost like that security blanket. Like you think of like someone who's a hoarder or something, like it stems from their childhood, that type of thing. And I think that don't think of myself as a hoarder. I'm hopefully very organized with it, but I'm a large card collector, which I really think deeply has something to my childhood. And even the name of my company, Lot of, where I got that name, obviously I have a lot of cards, but at that point in my life, I wanted a lot of something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the cards, the more I could get. It wasn't about that I needed, Jim Rice's rookie or something like that. I needed a lot of, the Red Sox, a lot of the Yankees, a lot of this, that type of stuff. Well, not really the Yankees. I didn't like those at that time, but the Red Sox and others.
Were you specifically collecting baseball or like all sports, or did you have a specialty?
There was a lady that was like a young childhood friend. I mean, I'm 10 and she was like 12. And we lived across the street from a mall. And we literally, at that age, you would never do that in today's day, but today's day, we literally crossed to the North Shore Mall. It's not even called that anymore. But in Peabody, Mass, that's where I grew up. And we would buy football cards and those types of things at the store, Herman Sporting Goods store, that's not even there anymore. It's not even in existence. And so it was football, it was baseball for me. Yeah, not really basketball or hockey at that time in my life, but baseball, football.
And any particular players, or you just kind of just wanted to get packs? Obviously,
it was more about just having the quantity. I don't remember any specific players. Obviously living in Boston and as a Red Sox fan, it was Yaz for me.
Mm-hmm.
In later years, I'm friends with Rico Petrocelli's son, so I got to know Rico before I knew his son from another venture that I was doing in my main job. So it was cool. Yeah, but mostly
that's.
Yeah.
So the 1975 set, is that the one with the minis? Is that the
both
multicolored?
Yeah, they're both.
That was I was 7 when I first started collecting. That was my first set too.
That's fun.
And Mark just bought or not just bought, but he has a whole set that he bought.
A mini. Yeah, I bought the mini set from the dealer, and it's one of my favorite sets. Just the color and everything. It's just it's a really vibrant and goofy set, I thought.
Yeah, it brings up some sort of like great feeling when I look at those cards, even though I don't even think of myself necessarily as a collector anymore that much. I'm more of a buyer and a seller because I've created so many relationships through this that I feel like anything that I sell, if I want it back, I could get it back, a different version of that, but I could get the same card back. So I've had to remove myself from that emotion because you can't be a seller and just like, oh no, you can't take that one, you can't take this one, So
right,
so it's more. I had to separate myself, but I mean, because people always come to like when I give someone the tour of my collection, which really takes up several rooms here in my house. They're always like, well, you must have a hidden stash of like where your favorite card is and all that stuff. And I really don't. It's almost like I feel like I should, just because they ask for it, I should have some stash, but it's not. It's really anything that I get that's worthy of being auctioned, I auction nowadays. And anything that's less than $10 from 9 to 1 or something ends up in my dollar bins at my card show. So good cards, and then stuff that's below that, I just try to bundle it and get rid of it somehow. Yeah.
I think you just answered my next question, which was, do you have a favorite card and why?
to show that same thing I just talked about, there was one thing that was pretty cool that I sold that I had regret like a couple months ago. One of my buyers, I auctioned off. It wasn't a card, but it was a boarding pass of Larry Bird. Like and he autographed it. And
Oh wow.
it was in like, he was in the first class, like seat 1A or something. And I auctioned that in my group and someone won it. And I can't remember who it was. It would be in the records because I never delete anything. So you can go and like scan Larry Bird boarding pass and you'll see that actual one. That one hurt a little bit after I thought about it. Why did I get rid of that one? I wanted to have it, but pretty much I don't have a favorite other than that. Larry Bird was, again, being Boston, Larry Bird was my favorite Celtic. So
Yeah.
You're predicting our questions here, Mike, because the next one is going to be about if you had any regrets about the card that got away or
that's funny. I went into the regret, but answering the other one, yeah, no, that was the only one that kind of got away recently. Yeah, not too much other than that I haven't had that feeling in a while. I used to have that feeling all the time when I started selling, and I had to teach myself that I could get this stuff back. And there's a couple of different card stores that either go to my card shows, or I've been dealing with those people locally here in Boston and New Hampshire, or Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And, I spend a lot of money at those places and then take it back and auction. So I've got such great relationships. So.
Got it.
Yeah. So I think one thing that our channel is called Vintage Card Voyage. So one of the things I'd love you to take us. Yeah, one of the things I'd love you to do is take us through your voyage. Like, we know you started collecting as a young boy and you wanted a lot of cards, but take us through the stages that you've been through. You already talked about how you flipped from being a collector to really a seller or a dealer. And I'd love to hear the journey. Sure.
Well, I think that the journey starts and stops a little bit during the years, because if I look at it now, I'm 59, so it's been almost 50 years of really collecting, and it's been pretty much other than like one childhood friend. Both my parents are gone now, so other than my sister, there's not too many ties for like 50 years in your life, right? I've been married to my wife for 37, but not 50, and the cards was always there. I'm a parent of 3 kids. I'm now a grandfather, but like there's times in my life, like, you probably take a couple year break or something from the cards because you're raising a family and all that type of stuff. And but as a very young child, as I said, like I had to have these possessions, and I keep building it. It got to the point. At some point in your life, you almost get a little embarrassed as a kid because, here's my card collection, that type of stuff. And, and some kids aren't into it or whatever. So then you're kind of quiet about it. And then you went into high school and went away to the military, came back. And then I think that in the last maybe 10 years, I've been doing way more of it than I ever did, because I've been buying and selling and buying collections. And, I learned a path, like I'm looking at, well, you can't see it, but the other side of the monitor right now is my window. And that's where I drive in the backyard, so my wife can't see me sneaking more cards into the house. And I drive around the park there. I unload the car. It comes in the basement. And sometimes she doesn't catch me. Sometimes she does. But now it's to the point that she knows we're making some money from selling the cards. And she basically has given me an ultimatum that by the time I'm 70, which is another 10 and a half years or so, they got to be out of the house. Because, God knows what she's going to do with them. And she's kept track of a couple of my friends in case something happened to me. Right? So she knows what to do with the cards. And I have my future daughter-in-law doing a ton of that. Has been so much fun, but she's like focused on my card shows. And she's doing all the marketing and the keeping track of the vendors and the people, because that's so much work. And she's doing tremendous about that. And I have my actual daughter, who's now pregnant and having a baby in February. She's been helping me post things, and she was just down in my basement today half the day, like helping me organize some stuff. It's a lot of fun. So, think treating it as a family side business, but my main profession has nothing to do with cards.
That's great, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
So what's been your biggest challenge as a dealer?
I think my biggest challenge is the time sink that it is. Like, I swear I spend so much time in that vintage basketball group, but I don't make one red cent from that basketball group. I often thought of sort of stepping away from that, but it's also my chance of I think it's like 7,000 or something like that members in there now. And it's a very active group, and thousands of dollars are transacted every single day. So I can sort of advertise there my other group. And so I can post my lot of cards group in that one and kind of like cross sell. And that's probably almost the only reason that I'm still actively running it. And luckily, I have an incredible moderator, Grant, that helps me run that as well. Grant Kush. I'm sure, Ken, you've seen his name many times before as well. So
Yeah.
Grant and myself run the basketball group. I'm just the one who started it.
Got it.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Mike,
had
you ever owned a store before? Did I see
I
that
did.
right? Or
kind of. I set up what I love. I don't know, like I know a lot of guys that run stores, and that is such a commitment. They're there over the weekend. They're there at night. It's a 7-day a week thing for them. I've got that, but I have a national audience, so I can have relationships all over the country at my own pace, and I don't have to do a retail store. I tried setting up a business office one city away in Merrimack, New Hampshire, for a couple years, and I really meant it just to be able to have a spot to do my e-commerce stuff. But then people thought it was a card store, so they would always come in, and to be candid, I didn't really like it because it wasn't set up with great security cameras, that type of stuff, and then people would walk around, spend an hour of their day or something, or my day, and maybe spend $10, or $20.
Yeah.
I just didn't like that. I think that there's other people that love that aspect of it. I love the thinking of creative ways to develop relationships with the customers online. And that's what I think I've somewhat achieved a little bit. Not to great extent, but I want to improve it in 2025 even.
Got it.
I think the thing I'm most proud of is, like, if I look down, like today I actually did it. I keep a running spreadsheet of how many auctions. I'm looking at it right now. Exactly 2,450 auctions that I've done this year.
Wow.
And I sorted them by the name of the buyer. And there's one buyer there that spent $11,000, another one that spent $8,000 on not $1,000 items, on $10 items, $20 items, but they just add up. So I think that's what I'm most proud of, is the fact that I get the return business of people that join the group and keep coming there, and I get some sort of a charge when someone gives me a positive sort of comment, and we're onto a feedback thing like eBay does, because that's I'm way behind on that for sure, because I keep buying from I buy from eBay pretty often, but I never leave the feedback, which is bad. But when I'm selling in my Facebook group and someone comments, "Hey, I got the cards. Thank you so much for the extras," that gives me this charge to keep doing it, because I know they love it. There's one of my customers literally calls me Santa. And I'm a Jewish guy, so it's kind of funny. But he calls me Santa because he loves just getting the surprise element of. That's kind of what it was when you were a kid, right? When you were a kid, you didn't know what you were going to get. That surprise, you unpack a pack of cards, a case. It's not. So that's the fun. So if they win something in my auctions, they get multiple cards.
That's great.
And then by surprise. And I don't just put, the junk gears in there. They get maybe a couple of those, but they get some really, hopefully pretty decent cards as extras.
Mm-hmm. So Mike, I know that you have your Thursday night show that you run. Do you do other shows? Do you do any of the big national shows?
I've never done one of the big national shows. I've attended them. I went to the nationals in Cleveland. My friend and I, who does cards with me, we drove from New Hampshire actually down to Cleveland, Ohio. I attended that. I've attended the Shriners here in Massachusetts several times, but I've never set up. Okay. We've got a couple local ones that Dover and Salem, New Hampshire. I've set up at their shows a couple times, but it's enough for me just running my own, and I take several tables up, and I only do dollar cards at the shows because everything else I don't bring any high end cards. I bring all dollar stuff that really not that people love fishing through my dollar boxes and stuff, and I usually take like 5 tables, so I can't do that at other shows. It would cost me a fortune to set up 5 tables, right? So.
Do you have any, so let's say 2 pieces of advice for people who do want to set up at shows?
Don't overprice your stuff. I think that there's a few of my vendors that at the end of the night, they're disappointed a little bit because they didn't sell some $1,000 card or something like that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the community of Massachusetts and New Hampshire that happens to hear about the show and happens to attend with their family. We're calling it a fun family-free event, and you're trying to sell and market $1,000 card. You could go on eBay and buy it for $1,000 too.
Right.
So I would say, think people want bargains, people want a deal, people want, that relationship. And then I think the other thing is to be somewhat organized and pick a sport or pick a focus, pick something that makes you unique when you're at that show, so they stand out. One of our, we've been doing really well. I know almost nothing about Pokemon, but a lot of my vendors do. And I thought one of the things that one of my vendors does, I thought was really smart, is he literally had a helium balloon that was a Pokemon, and he put it on his table, and so people could see that from far away that he was into Pokemon. So all the kids went toward that direction. So it's smart. You got to think creatively.
We have a local guy who sells Pokemon. I always see him with like this big orange hat that he wears all the time.
Stand out, right? Yeah.
So it's stand out. So
absolutely.
Mike, you've been in the hobby and you've been on the collecting side and dealer side. Where do you see the hobby going? Are you give us some sense or your opinion on where I'll say myself, some of the trends I don't like, most of the trends I don't like, some of them I do, but I'd love to hear from you. Where do you think the hobby's going?
I don't know if you remember this, Ken, because I remember messaging you or something like that back. I briefly worked for PSA on a contract recruiting graders in California. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
It was back like during COVID time, and it was a great experience for me because I got the chance to actually work for the president of PSA at the time, Steve Sloan. When I send stuff now, I know SGC, PSA, or what a collectors bought SGC as well. I've been doing SGC, and I look at the grading as somewhat a necessary evil. Like, I don't love it. I love the feeling of cards. When buying vintage, you can smell the cards, right? You can know that it's real. You can tell, you can feel it. You can tell the texture. So I need to spend $15 or $20 or more to get this little piece of cardboard slabbed up, right?
Yeah.
In some cases, it is good for vintage, right? It is good to know the quality, and there's zero questions. And it's nice when I post now, especially if I post SGC, I don't even type the grade. They can see it in the pictures. They know, that it's very good. They know that it's good. They know that it's a poor one, but yet it's because it's a 1. But it's amazing that people still buy the ones. They fight to win them on auction. So, vintage is amazing. But to answer your question, the trends of that grading scares me a little bit because it does make things very expensive. I mean, if I want to send 100 cards in, I'm spending a couple $1,000 almost,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's that's what scares me.
Yeah.
Grading all the brand new stuff, and whether it's a 9, a 9.5, or a 10 is not my liking, but I do it all the time. And I buy collections because it has graded stuff, and I auction graded stuff. So it seems like a snob of me to say that or something like that. But I kind of wish that you could just take a card out of the pack and post it up as raw and not have to spend the $15 to get it sealed and cased every single time. But so I like the graded. The way it's like this mixed feeling. I like it. It's cool, but it's makes the volume people like me, who has, no exaggeration, millions of cards, it makes it very difficult to sell just here's a box, take this whole box from me. Well, nothing's graded. No, nothing's graded. Right. So
I just thought of a different question to ask you. Do you have an organization system to your millions of cards? Are you able to find each card that you need?
I wish I was like that. That would be so cool. The fun for me, pretty much on a nightly basis, like, and not often, my wife and I will spend time watching TV together. She usually goes to bed before me. Then, well, she almost always does. And then I go and grab a box of cards and go that. And what's fun is I don't know what's going to be in that box. Right. Because I maybe haven't seen that box in 5 years or 2 years or something. So I can go through and, oh, wow, there's a cool, vintage card. When did I get that? When did I get this? I don't know. So I'm somewhat, I have to be organized. In fact, when I said earlier that my daughter was over helping me organize, what we realized is that my hold system is out of control right now. I have so many people that have won auctions, and I've got the cards sorted by last name, A, B, C, D, E, F. I guess you guys know how to spell. But we went through, we only made it up to going through A, B, and C and did a quality check. And there was a couple cards in the B's, because you got Larry Bird, you got Brady, you got others under B's. And I'm like, what did this go to? Oh, someone won that a month and a half ago, but yet they haven't hit their $100 yet. So I haven't shipped to them yet. So now we realize we have to build a whole nother holding system so that it's by the person's name. So the customer, we move it from those A to B to C to, Bob Jones, Mary Smith, move it to their box. And so that's where a lot of effort went today. I'll say by my daughter, because I have a main job that I should have been doing all day, but I was a little distracted today. But so cards are somewhat organized. Like what I was hoping is to be able to give you that, and we can do it on another time or another. I can use my other system, but give you a little bit of a tour, because I kind of know where there's a lot of really cool vintage cards and stuff that I could have showed you. And I know where the vintage is. Like right behind me is just some bulk, right? That thing's blocking, but there's it's all kind of like right here, right? It's all
wow.
And then this entire room over here is what used to be my son's bedroom. He's now 33. And then recently, well, I say recently, about 6 months ago, maybe closer to a year, we built a whole other room that also organizes the cards. So they're organized, but they're organized in those ugly white boxes. So, and then as you guys know, those white boxes get very heavy. So if you want to get something it's piled 10 high or something, and you want to get the 10th box down, it's a workout. So I've been actually thinking of like a workout video with cards. I think that would be a nice selling point. I could auction those up.
That would be unique. I think you'd be the one person who's doing something like that.
Yeah. I'll wear shorts and a t-shirt and work out with the cards.
Bench press a 3,200 count box.
I don't know about 3,200, 2,400, maybe. 59 years old now. So.
Well, thank you so much. Unless I don't know if you had any other things you'd like to talk about or discuss, but We really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate it. It's been fun, and I hope you can, someone can get something from this video, and feel free. What I pride myself, one of the things besides eBay too, like you can't just, you can question a seller on eBay, you can maybe do that, whatever, but can you really have a relationship? So what I like, you can find me on Facebook, you can find the Lot of Cards group, you can request to join very easily. My website, if you just go lotofcards.com, it brings you right to that Facebook group. I just removed the whole website part of it.
I see.
But, yeah, so just an easy way to get right to the Facebook group, because that's what it's all about for me, is that relationship. So I mean, then I'm reachable, really 24/7 on questions on cards or whatever you might have. So.
And we will make sure to link to the Facebook groups, both of them. I guess you have the basketball one as well, right? So
I don't really need. One thing that puzzles me is that the fact that the vintage basketball group is like 7 times the size of my other one, because there's so many other sellers and there's so many other people doing. But I shut it down for about a year from being able to do buy it now, because I'm not a fan of buy it now. I'm a fan of auctions. I don't think buy it now, and everybody keeps there's guys in my group that post a card for like $15,000. Here's the Jordan rookie, and PSA this, PSA whatever. But like, that is cool, but that's only fair to that one person who actually can buy it.
Yeah,
right.
That's why I love auction. Yeah. Let's start them low. Yeah. Let people bid. I'd never put a reserve. Never think about. I often do free shipping. I mean, it's just make it fair. Make it an auction. If you start an auction at $1,000, is that really an auction, or just it's crazy, right? So, a true auction.
Well, Mike, I can tell you, because of the way you do business, that's why you keep growing your groups, and that's why you keep growing your show, because you treat people fairly. The people who are in it for the money, I think they'll wash out. I mean, we've seen this over 50 years, right? It's like some people get in for the money and it doesn't work out for them.
Yeah, I don't want to sound wrong about this, but I have a great job that I make money on, and I make a good living. For me, it's not about the money. It's really the relationships that I build. Otherwise, the card would be such a nuisance.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate it. And maybe we'll have another video with you with your card collection, or we'll show it here along with this interview.
Anytime. There's a couple links around of me walking around with the collection, and we can send you whatever you need, or we can do another call anytime.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. And,
all right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.